Hello and welcome to the Reach Out for Mental Health podcast. I'm Stu. If you're joining me, always Kirsty Eaton. Hello.
All right.
Yeah, you all right?
I was going to dive straight in there to do your intro, and then I thought better about it.
How are you, Kirsty? You all right? I've not seen you for a while.
I know it's been ages. No, it's good. It's good. It's a bit chilly on the boat today. I've got my fire on, but it keeps going out, so I'm going to be ducking in and out of the frame, just so everyone knows and kind of, I'm not just sodding off somewhere.
Okay. Well, we've got a guest today, and that guest comes in the shape of a multitude of pseudonyms, but we'll go today with the K-Man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. How are you? It
I'm
feels
all right.
weird. It feels weird starting off a podcast with you and not just doing the usual. Yeah, I'm all right. You're all right? Yeah, I'm all right.
Well, look, we to give this a bit of context. So the K-Man and me have been besties since 1981.
I think it might be 1980.
1980.
Yeah, and the arse end of 1980.
Yeah. So we've known each other all our lives pretty much, and we do have a podcast together called Acceptably in the 80s. Now, there's various pseudonyms that you've gone under, and you've obviously had lots of chart success under the name K and the Gang, or the K's. We're trying to kind of not be too offensive on this podcast, but I'm sure people can read between the lines, and we'll put some links in the show notes so you can explore.
Explore
Exactly.
Explore the K and the Gang website.
Well, look, we always start the podcast with the same sentence, and if I say to you the words mental health, what comes to mind?
Do you know what? Before the pandemic, it would have been a completely different answer to what it is now. Before the pandemic, I'd have thought something unfortunate that happens to someone else, and then now, I'm still wrapping my head around it, but I completely associate it with just being well and wellness and looking after yourself. Just looking after yourself and doing things to try and keep yourself on top of things.
What I mean, we've obviously grown up together. Can you remember the first time in your life when you maybe thought, I don't feel maybe as I should?
Well, having been mates with you all those years, there's been a number of them. A number of them times. Yeah, seeing you divvy up money on top of a car and put an extra one in your pocket. I don't know. I mean, I think we were brought up by the generation of people that soldier on and don't, just keep yourself busy and you'll be all right. And I think, I always sort of kept that attitude, and I always felt a bit bulletproof, like I was fine. But looking back now, I think sort of in my 20s and stuff, there was times when nowadays it'd be called social anxiety, just about not wanting to go out and just wanting to stay in your little comfort bubble. But at the time, I don't think I realised what it was. But so I guess then, sort of, like sort of in my 20s.
And so, were you aware of that, Stu? Kind of reflecting back on that now, can you pick up on that?
There was definitely a time that I was always the one that wanted to go out all the time, and Kay not so much. I definitely think Kay was quite happy a lot of the time sitting indoors watching the bill, or making music. Just sitting in your studio making music. I don't think you felt
I'd take a break from the bill at lunchtime and make some music for an hour or so, and then to go back to the bill.
No, but I definitely think the social anxiety I wasn't aware of, because I guess you probably didn't have social anxiety around me because we're mates. But explain what you meant by social anxiety.
It was just you know, like I think it was just like a feeling of dread and fear about being out in big groups of people who you didn't really know. And all the time, we were such a tight group of mates. You sort of had this little bulletproof gang who you'd sort of knock about with. So when we go out, you wouldn't be so worried about it. But things like parties and stuff, I hardly ever went to them, just because of that. You know, sort of once I got out of my teens, I just never really went to them, and I still sort of. And it feels weird because, you know, I spent 15 years going to gigs and socialising with people I hardly knew before and after the gigs, but it's sort of different because, you know, in a way, for the gigs, you sort of assume the character of someone who is social, as someone who is sociable, and that it sort of separates it from your real life.
I think that's really important what you said there, because I can totally relate to that insofar as I don't like going to parties where I don't really know that many people, or the people that I'm going to them parties with are not necessarily in my closeness, because it involves small talk, and I hate small talk, which is ridiculous as a podcaster to say that. And also, but I think what you said about the gigs, that's what I got from being the DJ. I could be in the DJ booth and I didn't actually have to talk to all the people. You could kind of use that as the sort of the wall, you know, that, okay, like I haven't really got to go down, because the thought of standing in a nightclub talking to people, I could think of nothing worse than that. And like,
well, you're not meant to talk, you're meant to dance, aren't you? Was that not really your thing? Would you rather have?
No, I wasn't really that good at that. But
you was really good. I always thought you were a really good dancer.
Don't say that.
I never said it at the time, but I used to stand there walking around with my pint, just watching you dance. You just look really free in a way that I knew I could never be.
If anybody listening has got any footage of Stu Whiffin circa 1991 dancing,
mine's all up here.
Amazing.
I could animate something to replicate.
That'd be great.
No, you're right, mate. You're right.
That'd be fun.
Can you
in a happy place?
Well, do you think, I'm going to call you a creative, right? Because as long as I've known you, you know, whether you're fashioning tiny cock and bollocks out of blue tack, through to making your own comics when we were kids, through to designing the cassette covers for our little bands when we were kids, right the way through to obviously your success and songwriting, and with K and the Gang and the K's. Like, do you think there's an element of a sort of a parallel between
me and Lennon?
You and John Lennon. No, mental health and creativity.
Do you know what, that was another thing that I never really thought that much until the pandemic, but yeah, completely. I think there's creativity is such an outlet, you know, for you to feel free and express yourself, and so definitely, yeah. You know, yeah, I mean, all the time, that's my happiest place, is just being somewhere creating something, you know.
And what I find interesting is, I do think with you, it comes from a pretty pure place. And as much as the content of what you do can be far from pure and more puerile, I guess, but I do think from conversations that we've had regarding all manner of things that we've done over the years, it's not driven by money. And I find that really interesting. And I think that's really good, because I'm not like that. You know, if I've got something, I'm like, well, how can I make that work for me? You know, how can I make that my job? And like, is that something that you try and sort of compartmentalize, that you don't get driven by the money? What drives you?
It's just doing something. And I was Kirsty dropped out. Do we have to stop or carry on?
No, I think she's just going to put some wood on her fire.
Oh, okay.
That's not a euphemism.
I hope not in the middle of a podcast. No, I guess what drives me is just the act of creating something, and it's like a buzz that you can't get from anything else. And I just really enjoy that the whole process of having the ideas in the first place, which sort of feels like they're floating around in the ether, and they find you, and then there's a sort of workmanlike aspect to it where you have to take that idea and you have to craft it into something, and some things will become something brilliant and other things won't. But
Yeah.
I love that whole process, right up to the point of sharing that idea with people once you've kind of got it to as close as you can to finish.
And once that sort of process is done, before you show it to people, if you're pleased with what you've done, do you feel that you need to hear other people tell you it's good, or are you quite happy with doing it to reach a place that you feel you've achieved something?
You know what? I don't think it's as sort of black and white as that. It's great. I love people. I love people saying they like something, and when one of the videos takes off, you get sucked into looking at the numbers and stuff. But I don't think that's who I am. And the validation is nice, but that's not why I do it. And the satisfaction I get from the validation is not the same as the satisfaction I get from actually the act of creating something. And I know it sounds ridiculous because like a lot of my songs are really appalling, but they're all proper ideas that have just come to me. I don't go fishing around to think what's the worst thing I can possibly write a song about. They're all, I've in the past had people say, "Oh, come on, where's your Patrick Swayze song?" But if that idea doesn't find you, and like the one about the guy from the Lost Prophets, which was obviously one of the most appalling acts that you could ever think of, I didn't set out to write a song about it, and I did have lots of people saying to me, "Come on, where's your Ian Watkins song?" And I thought, you know what, I'm just not going to be able to do it. And then the confusion happened with him and H from Steps. And that idea that just this poor guy from like a teeny bop band has been confused with this horrible monster. Like there is something funny in it, and once your heart says to you, you've got to do it, then you owe it to yourself to put it out there. And lots of people won't like it, but lots of people do. And I think because the media, and what we see on the TV is so sanitized and had all the rough edges sanded off, for you to just present something as a creator straight to an audience without all the bollocks and hoops you have to jump through to get something on the TV or radio, people do appreciate that the difference between that and the official culture kind of stuff that they get. There is a difference, I think, and there's something, as much as it's horrible and lots of people won't like it, there's something pure about it, because like the wildlife of Australia, it's grown naturally, over all those years without anyone interfering with it.
Yeah. You referenced lockdown a few times, and like, I mean, I know that me and you would meet up and have socially distanced walks, and we would literally just walk around the places we grew up to reminisce, which was lovely. But like,
it's not normal, is it?
No, that's not normal. Talk about, mate, how your perception on maybe mental health changed during lockdown.
I think as someone who likes locking themselves away, working on little songs on keyboards on my own, I think suddenly, I'd always thought I'd be all right with just doing that. But I think, quite quickly in lockdown, you sort of, I don't know, being forced into that situation, you sort of realise actually you are part of something bigger, and you started to miss that, and especially as like I'd kind of not gigged for a few years, and I just sort of felt so I started doing like live feeds on YouTube where I'd just written my book like a year or so previous, so I just started reading bits from my book, and people would kind of congregate on there and all chat, and it just sort of suddenly felt nice to be part of a little community of people with a sort of shared interest. And then like going out for walks, I'd sort of go out for walks on my own, or meet you for a walk, and just enjoying the outside, and that's become such an important part of my life now, just making sure I sort of have a walk every day. It feels a bit weird just walking around on your own, but like I go out in the morning, just go for a walk for an hour, and I feel like it really helps with all the other shit, just not just kind of mentally, but just to let the ideas you've had the rest of the time percolate, and so I'll get some of the best kind of breakthroughs and stuff just through having a peace and quiet, or being in the woods, But when I'm walking through the woods, not the destination is not the woods. I'm walking through the woods. I'm not hanging around in the woods.
Trying to find magazines and bushes and things.
His eyebrows when I said about being in the woods.
Yeah, I think we both had a bit of suspicion about that. So I mean, I thought it was really interesting what you said on reflection, talking about mental health, and what it means to you, because a lot of people traditionally, when we ask that question, it's more of a kind of depressive state, isn't it? It's very rarely where someone talks about what it means to keep their mental health in optimal position. And where you said, K-Man, I've got to be so careful. It's so careful. Talking about the lockdowns and the pandemic and everything, and how before that you always thought that mental health, in terms of maybe a depressive state or social anxiety or something, that's something that would happen to other people. And that's something that I am quite thankful about with the lockdowns, is that it has been a massive leveler. Like you say, before COVID, I think everyone had this perception about what mental health or depression and anxiety and those kind of things were, and that it was just something that other people would struggle with. But now I think it's safe to say it would be really hard to find someone who hasn't been touched by some kind of depression or anxiety during COVID or since COVID. And I think that's got to be a good thing, because it's been a massive leveler for society, and I think it's given people a lot of consideration and I want to say tolerance, but that's the wrong word, but you know what I'm getting at.
It's less of a weird thing, to talk about depression and anxiety, which can only be good, but it also sort of makes you realize sort of how massively underfunded and inadequate the system is for people's struggles in this way, No,
100%, and that's one of the reasons why I set up Reach Out for Mental Health, because back in the day it was much worse than what it is today. It's great to see just how many services like mine and similar have popped up over the last 10 years, and there's conversations like ours obviously going on much more about mental health and suicide thoughts and suicidal ideation, but we've still got a long way to go. I mean, going back to when you were talking about having social anxiety, and that's something obviously that you wouldn't have called it back then.
No, I thought it was just a lonely cunt. Sorry.
One. So Stu probably thought you were just being really moody and just don't want to go out because he wants to stay in and watch the Bill. But you were feeling, I mean, could you identify what it was? Were you just thinking, I just don't want to go out? Or
it was just that. Just I wasn't moping around, but just kind of had a bit of a feeling of dread about going out and socialising, and so I had quite a tight group of mates who we'd all just stay in, and
and you couldn't have said to Stu, listen, I'm feeling a bit, I don't know, whenever I think about going out, I just it fills me with I get the willies,
No. Whenever, like, if I try to approach him about stuff like that on lots of occasions, and he'd always just go gay.
No,
He's
can't
been on.
have you associated with the charity anymore.
No, he's been on a real journey as a person, and he doesn't do that anymore. Now he just makes that hand gesture.
He's grown. He's grown so much, and under your guidance and care as well. I must say,
we've grown together.
No, I do think it's really weird. I think we've always been pretty open about sort of chatting about how we're feeling, but I do think we've had so many conversations where we've kind of looked back retrospectively, because we always felt that, like, our circle of friends, I'm sure most people do in their formative years, think their circle of friends are all nutters and crazy, and it was only, you know, looking back at some of the characters in our circle of friends, and you look at some of their traits and some of their home lives, and you know, and we just thought they were just nuts and fun, and you know, they're out there, but they just had serious mental health problems. And I think at the time we didn't notice that, you know, and when you look back, as I think, because as you get older, your perception of, I agree with Cayman post lockdown, and like through lockdown, I definitely changed a lot of people's perception on it. But I think age kind of changes you as well, because not that I ever called him gay for
No, I wasn't. I was just joking about that.
But I think I don't think we was ever having conversations when we was like 18, 19, 20 about depression or
is that
anxiety.
more to do with a sign of the times and less to do with your
100%,
age?
100%. Like that wasn't terminology that was really being thrown around. You know, people would say, "Oh, are you depressed because you listen to the Smiths?" And like, and you know, we was, but you know, I think, I guess the terminology maybe have been, oh, he's a bit, you know, bit teenage angsty, and like, you know, you have your teen angst, and I think that was definitely a term that a few times when I was sort of 16, 17, if I had been dumped and I was listening to the Smiths, I'd think, oh yeah, or writing some songs, there'd be a bit, I look back now and I'd guess teen angst would be a word that I'd probably associate with that. But I do think that the age definitely changes your perception on it. And I think, you know, as society's obviously evolved and progressed to the fact that the conversations are being had now, that, you know, that words like depression and anxiety aren't something where, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's still many people that don't want to interact with people when they say these words, but I definitely think that we've been quite lucky in our circle of friends, because I remember we was in a pub one night, maybe 10, 15 years ago. We all meet up. Not so much now. The group's got a little bit smaller just because of, you know, families and stuff. But there was a time we went to a pub on a Sunday night, and all of our little sort of group of friends sat there. And I remember everybody was saying that they'd been on antidepressants. And I found that quite shocking, because from the outside, and certainly people's perception from outside our circle of friends, because we'd all been in bands or DJs, you know, or in these things where I guess it would look like we were super confident. I was quite surprised that all of these huge personalities that, you know, that I was surrounded by and in awe of and friends with, were all saying, yeah, you know, I've been on antidepressants, which I thought was really shocking. Like, because can you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I found that shocking as well.
Yeah, because
shocking. Like, how? What about that shocked you?
Because former guest on this show and mental health podcaster and campaigner, Nick Noyes, who works for Mind, like, we've all known Nick many years, and we all knew that Nick had mental health problems and had been on medication, and I'm not speaking out of turn there. He'd be very open and honest about talking about that, and And I presumed that was where it started and stopped in our circle of friends, but it wasn't. It was so much wider. And I just remember thinking that was really shocking. And because, yeah, I don't know. You could see that Nick was unhappy. You could see it in his mannerisms, in the way that he carried himself. It was quite outwardly noticeable. Whereas the rest of the people around that table, not so much, but completely not.
I really wish that I'd been a fly on the wall in that situation, because that's, you know, obviously the biggest thing that we're trying to do here. You know, we're not a male-only suicide prevention service. We support men and women, but obviously men are more at risk of suicide. So everything that we do is always focusing at men, making sure that what we do doesn't put men off accessing the service. And ultimately, we're trying to encourage men to have these conversations openly and honestly. And one of the things that I always try and say is that rather than you having to, having to be brave and own up about your own struggles with mental health, keep in mind that when you do find that confidence to be able to start talking about your own struggles, there's a good chance that one of your mates that you're talking to, or the person at the other end of the bar, is also struggling, and that you've now opened up those lines of communication and allowed someone else to start talking about it. And so that conversation with you and your pals, again, I want to be careful because I don't want to talk about Nick behind his back, but do you remember, was it Nick that kind of started off the conversation? As you say, he was always quite open and honest about, and still is, about his mental health. And then other people then kind of jumped in and were like, yeah, actually, I've tried antidepressants, and yeah, I'm on them as well, and I'm on them as well. And then do you remember how it went?
I can't. Can you?
No, we would always go and drink quite a lot of beer.
Yeah,
that helps though massively in talking about it, not your mental health. I just want to make that really clear.
Yeah. But I guess it was because probably at that stage we were meeting fairly regular, monthly, weren't we? But I guess a month, and also this was kind of probably at the dawn of social media, so you didn't know what everyone was up to all the time. So you'd meet up each month and you'd all talk about what you've been up to. And so I guess going from month to month and not seeing people, quite a lot could happen in someone's life in a month or a couple of months. And I guess that's why we had no idea, that the mental health problems were so widespread. And also because I guess meeting up for that beer was always, it was great, wasn't it? And the mood was really upbeat. Even Nick, the mood was really really upbeat, and you'd all just have a real laugh, And so,
I think it was medicine to a degree, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I guess I never felt like anyone was sat there quietly in trouble. You'd all, everyone would be chipping in and contributing.
It's interesting you say that, because Kirsty sent me a video, and for some reason the algorithms sent it my way again yesterday about this guy, and it's brilliant, and I'll share it on our socials for people to go and watch. And it's two guys at a football match, and they're both season ticket
the Norwich
holders.
Football Club,
and basically each week they go to football. Have you seen it?
Yeah,
it's fucking amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it's so true. It's so true. So, like you say, you've got your group there. Sorry, Nick, if you're listening to this and is thinking, why the fuck do you keep talking about me? But you've got your group, and everyone's probably all worried about Nick, because Nick's always quite open and honest about his mental health. But it could be you, Stu, who's the one that's really in trouble, but no one really pays much attention to him because he's bright and bubbly and making jokes and always there for other people. And in actual fact, you're the one that's kind of more in danger, as it were, than anyone else.
Yeah, I think it's I should urge people to go and give that a watch, because I mean it kind of, you explained pretty much the sort of narrative of it. But he's a really, I didn't see it coming, and I was like, whoa, wow, that's quite powerful. And and I guess if these things are set out to make you think, then that sort of ticked the box. It really did. I thought it was quite a hard-hitting campaign. Aside from going for a stroll of a morning to kind of clear your head and get not just, you know, you touched on the fact that it's a good time to kind of get a bit of space to get your creativity flowing and so. Have you got anything else that you do to sort of try and maintain an element of well-being?
I guess I just talk about things a lot more, as you know. You know, I used to. So I come from a family of people that cope with a lot on their own, and it hasn't worked out very well. And so you kind of realise that actually, you know, it's just that old thing about a problem shared is a problem halved is fundamentally true. Just to, you know, I had some sort of people, you know, people in my family with sort of mental health problems, and you sort of feel like because they don't want to tell people about it, you feel like you can't tell people about it. But actually, because you're carrying the weight of keeping it quiet for them, you know, the pressure sort of builds up on you, and the you know, the stress can really really affect your mental and physical health. And so just being able to, you know, meet up with mates and have a beer and just get it off your chest. Like Stu has listened to a lot of my shite in the last few years, but it's just really helpful to have, you know, to be able to talk to someone and just, do you know what I mean? Share it, and you sort of start the next day with a clean slate and feel like a weight's been lifted and
a hangover.
Yeah, once that cleared around lunchtime, you start to feel much better about things.
Absolutely. Well, I guess one of the times that mental health can really sort of present itself is this time of the year, and this is a really bad tenuous link, but you have decided to work with or support the Krackpots, which is a mystery band, from what I gather, that are bringing some Christmas cheer this year. Tell us about what you know about them.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, you know, if you're going down the road of seasonally affected depression, this is just the remedy for you. No, but I think in previous years, you know, it's rubbish. It is fucking rubbish. Sorry, it is rubbish this time.
Oh, you can fuck all you want. It's the other one we don't want to
F's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
What other one? Arse. Wank. Piss.
Fine. Yep. Keep them coming. Yep. Yeah. It's all good.
This is going to be a long podcast.
Can we just? Oh, that would be great. Oh, fucking hell.
So obviously in previous years, you know, with me and my band, the K's, have done songs that have criticised the sort of leadership of the country. But we've done 3 Christmases of moaning about that. And they're on the way out. This is their last Christmas, hopefully. So we thought, rather than keep moaning about things, we'd try and just spread a bit of Christmas cheer. And we couldn't have any, you know, we just didn't have any ideas of how to do so. And I was really struggling, just kind of looking at a blank page with ideas written at the top. And then I heard a song by this band, the Krackpots, with a K, called Proper Christmas. And it's like an old-fashioned love letter to the Christmases of our childhood, the sort of 70s and 80s, in the style of sort of Madness or Slade or sort of Chas and Dave. It's a really lovely, jolly Christmas song. And so I've decided to get behind that instead. They're a mystery band fronted by puppets. No one knows who they are, a bit like Banksy or Kendo Nagasaki.
But it's the Krackpots. That's C-R-A.
No, with K. K-R-A-C-K.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Krackpots.
Okay. And is there a website?
As I understand, the website for their song is properchristmas.info. That's properchristmas.info.
And can you find this on Apple and Spotify?
It's going to be on all the downloading and streaming platforms from the 8th of December.
Brilliant.
You must have a very good relationship with the Krackpots, because you seem to know a hell of a lot about what they're doing.
I just went and looked on their website, properchristmas.info, and all the info was there about properchristmas.info.
Excellent. And that should all fill us with Christmas cheer.
Well, I think so. You know, I think part of being a creator and being secure in yourself is being secure enough to, when you see something that you know is good, just be able to say, that's really good and I'm going to support it. So, you know, I'm it's really good, so I'm going to support it.
I think we should all get behind it. That's absolute. Yeah, why not?
Let's give these guys a break.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, a bit of a break from the what was that? Well, there was one of them about Boris Johnson being a sausage roll, was it?
Yeah, but Boris Johnson was a sausage roll, and then Boris Johnson was still a sausage roll.
I remember there being more effing and jeffing in that one, but yeah, never mind. Well, look, Kate, thanks so much for coming on today, and yeah, pass on my regards to the Krackpots should you speak to them, and wish them all the best.
Yeah, I'm not in touch with them, but I'd imagine you'll probably be able to get in touch with them through their website, properchristmas.info, if you wanted to.
Like, and so that have you seen the video?
Apparently it's not quite finished, but by the time this goes out, it will be finished.
Oh, God, you do know an awful lot.
It's going to be really lovely and heartwarming. Well, they seem like stand-up guys. That's what they've said. So, you know, I can only take their word for it. You know,
just
and
want to get behind them. Yeah,
they're an independent band. You know, haven't got any record company or big press agency. They're not going to get any radio play or TV, despite having a song with no swear words in. So, you know, I just want to try and give them a leg up.
Why not? Why not? Properchristmas.info. Okay, man. Thanks loads for coming on, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Nice one.
No problem.